Hi there! As you might have noticed, this is not your typical GreatScott episode, video, however you want to call it. This is an episode of my Unscripted Q&A video series, so questions and answers, and as you might already have noticed, it is unscripted, so I will think a lot about what I want to say. I will say a lot of and it's a bit more of a relaxed GreatScott episode, so if that's not your cup of tea, then skip this video, watch the next one. And the point of this video is just me giving you some updates of what is going on and answering your questions, especially from my Patreon supporters, which I asked. And then I also ask you on Twitter and Facebook. So once I'm done with the Patreon questions, I will move over to Twitter and Facebook and see how many questions I can answer there. But before we start anything, I have to say that for this episode, I once again got a sponsor, which means I do not get any money, but I get products to give away. And this time it is from Sigland. It is pretty heavy. They sent me over a very nice lab bench power supply, a programmable DC power supply. And I used it a bit. It's heavy, I don't have to say that. And I used it a bit, it works great. It's a great power supply for beginners, intermediates, for everyone who's into electronics, I think. And yeah, they are giving me the chance to give away 4 of them. So I would say stick around to the end of the video. That is when I will say how you can win one of those. But let me just state that 3 of those are for my Patreon supporters and 1 is for all my YouTube viewers. So now you know about the giveaway, but that is not all. Sigland asked me to announce something. It's not really an announcement, I think. This program of theirs have been online for quite a while. So they want me to tell you about their review program. So you can look in the video description. There you will find a website to Sigland where you can read about this, I think. And there will also be an email address where you can then submit screenshots. What they basically said, they want me to say, is that you can submit an honest product review of any Sigland instruments you have to websites which have places for customer comments. So basically, if you ever bought a Sigland instrument, they have the problem that they apparently don't have many reviews. So if you have an instrument, head over to the site where you got it, write a review there. Of course, an honest review. If there are bad things about the instrument, you should be free to say that. If there are good things, you are also free to say that. That doesn't matter. They want an honest review. And if you do that, you can send in a mail to register, which should include a screenshot of your review and a link to your review and also the serial number of your instrument. Like I said, this will also be written in the video description of this video. And if you send an honest review to Sigland, the email address will also be in the video description. Then you can win a Sigland SDS1104XE digital oscilloscope or a SDG2042X function arbitrary waveform generator. So that's stuff you can win. That's really nice. I think writing an honest product review isn't that hard. So yeah, if you're in these situations, feel free to enter this giveaway of Sigland and also stick around to the end of the video for my giveaway. So that's enough for the beginning, I think. Let's just move this out of the way for now and let's start off with the questions. So for Patreon, at this time of recording, I have 20 comments, so 20 questions which I will answer. So let's start off with the first question from Marcus. What was the biggest and most difficult project you have ever done? I think in the beginning, the biggest and most complicated project was the electric skateboards. Not the version 2, which I did, I think, last winter, which was the simpler version, but I did one from scratch with a small BLDC motor, and then I have to come up with a gear system, a holding system, get that to the skateboard. And I did a first version, which is on YouTube. You can watch that, it's 3 parts. And then I also did a second version for my university, which was even better, but not on the internet. And then I came to this simpler version, which I still really like. So at the time, at the beginning of my YouTube stuff, this was the most complicated thing to do. But I think another candidate for that would be my Tesla coil, which was quite hard to construct because the time limit for that was really tight. I had to get this done right the first time. So it wasn't a simple task to do. I had lots of time pressure, and then I said, oh, this has to work this way right now. And then that was probably from the electronic side much more difficult than the electronic skateboard. And for me, it was the biggest and complicated project I think so far. There are other ones which I'm not sure if they come close, but there are some big projects along the way of my YouTube journey. But I think the Tesla coil was really the hardest and biggest one so far. But let's see what the future brings to me. Maybe there will be even bigger and more complicated projects. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Pierre Cruz asks, was your room messy at one point and how did you have the will to clean it up? My room is constantly messy. I think right now I'm done with video production always on a Friday or Saturday, and then I immediately start the new project on Sunday. So there's just a small time gap between projects, and that is the time where I basically clean up, and my room is completely littered with everything, like components around, pieces of paper where something is written, scripts which I have to change, the camera gear. It's a mess sometimes, but I'm actually a very, how do you say it, a tidy person. I like order. Yeah, that's very German. We like order, and when I get the chance, on Friday or Saturday I clean up everything. Everything goes back to its original place, and then this repeats over the week, and then once again I reset it at the end of the video production. So the will for me is just that I like order. I like it when it's clean. And also for video production, it's not very good when you start a new one and everything is still messy from the old project. So yeah, that was my answer. Okay, next question from Conterror. What sparked your interest in electronics? I think I said that before. Electronics was not actually the field I wanted to get into. I wanted to get into renewable energies, and electronics was just very close to it. So I thought, okay, it's still, electronics is very widely used and you can get a secure job with that. And I liked math and physics, so I thought it would be a good fit. But what really sparked my interest in the end was an LED cube I saw on the internet. And I thought, how is it possible to control like 8 by 8 by 8 LEDs with just a small self-made board? And that is the point where I started researching, and then I learned about it and I made my own, not 8 by 8 by 8, because that is totally insane just from the building aspect, not even the controlling aspect. And yeah, that's how it all started with an LED cube. Okay, next question from Ben Franklin. You have posted excellent info on meters. Thank you a million. I've acquired several meters that are marked seals do not open that I would like to replace the dial faces. Are these fields filled with inert gas? Can I safely open these and replace the dials? Ben, I'm sorry, I actually do not have an answer to that question. I haven't worked with such old meters where you got a dial. In that department, I can sadly not help you. Maybe Google, or maybe one of the viewers knows that and writes it in the comment section below. And if I see it, I will try to highlight it. So I hope you get your answer this way, but not from me, sorry. Next question from Kevin Forsyth. What is your day job and what are your ultimate career plans? My day job is making such videos. I think it surprises some viewers that this is my day job, but for anyone who's into video production, web video production, and watch my videos, I hope it is clear that I put a lot of effort, lots of time into the videos. One video takes 40 to 60 hours to produce, and yeah, I got one video every week for 3 weeks and then a 1 week break. So I think from the time aspect, it seems like this could be my day job, and yes, it is. And I've been doing this now full time for 2 years, I think. Still works out perfectly fine. I have lots of fun. I really like interacting with viewers. I like reading all your comments, and the financial aspect is also satisfying, I would say. I can finance my life with this. So yeah, this is my day job. So the next part of the question was my ultimate career plans. So for now, nothing specific is set in stone. I will continue doing YouTube as long as it is fun for me, satisfying. The financial aspect is also okay. And yeah, I think that's all you need. You need to have fun, and the financial aspect has to be right. I think that's kind of a dream job. So this is my career for now. For later, I cannot say if YouTube doesn't work out anymore. No idea. I love teaching. Maybe I will go into teaching. Maybe I will start a company on electronics engineering, something like that. Not sure. I'm currently way too busy doing these videos, and I actually do not have that much time to think about what comes next. So let's move on with the next question from Luis Fernando. If you get sponsored by a company to make a big project with unlimited budget, would you accept, and what would you like to do? It depends. If the company wants me to do a video about, I don't know, an electronics project which I'm not interested in, then I will gladly not agree. I will disagree. I will just do my own thing. I will continue doing my own thing. But if they say you can do whatever you want, then yeah, there's definitely a project which involves something like an electric car, maybe an electric moped, especially my Simson, which I wanted to electrify for I don't know how long, too long. And the project is just too big right now to take it on just because of the time aspect. So if I had unlimited budget, I think I would invest into people who would help me with such a project, so that I can get it done more quickly and thus stay within my release schedule. That would be awesome. I think I would definitely jump on this project opportunity for such an electric vehicle, or maybe even something like a go-kart, an electric go-kart, also on my list, which I wanted to do for such a long time, but it's just so big, such a project, and there's so much going on behind the scenes which you do not see with all the planning, and yeah, I have to do this then and then and then, and no, I don't have time for such a big project because this has to come then, and yeah, it's really a struggle just getting the continuous video flow out. But yeah, that is my big project which I would do. Next question from Anonym. Do you have a Discord server? What do you think about LCR component testers? No, I do not have a Discord server. And what do I think about LCR component testers? They are pretty handy to have. I think I have two, and I use them a lot when I didn't have a proper LCR meter, which I use right now for testing coils and capacitors, but back then I used them for coils and capacitors, and their readings were actually quite useful. Not perfect, but useful. So I think they do have a place on an electronics hobbyist workbench because they're just way more cheap than a proper LCR meter, and there's nothing wrong with using them. Okay, next question from Kevin Günzner. If you were asked to design a commercial product to be put on the market, what would you design and how? So I actually do not have a good product that I would put on the commercial market right now. Well, I actually have, but I'm working with a company on that behind the scenes, and that should come out. I don't want to make promises, but soon I think it will be a product you can get. It's not a fully completed project. You have to solder the components to the PCB by yourself, but I think it is a very handy circuit to have that will be out. But other than that, right now I don't have a good idea for a consumer product which I would like to get on the markets, because when you decide on such a product, it has to be a good one, because when you put that much time and effort into a product, it should be worth it in the end, from a financial point of view and also from a customer rating kind of view. If there are just a handful of customers who are like, oh, I really need this, then the effort doesn't really make sense. So you have to find something that is accepted by the wide, I would say, and also is very good in construction. So I didn't think about such a topic right now because I'm so much into the video production, but maybe for later, a good question. And how would you do it? Yeah, there are 1,000 ways to do it. I can't give you a specific answer right now, so sorry about that. Next question from Jofito. Would you consider making longer videos and extending the information depth for some topics, sacrificing the quantity of videos you release? No. It's a sad answer, no, but no. The problem with such YouTube videos, I think, is that there is not a limit on how long an episode can be. I watch 30-minute YouTube episodes, but so far not about electronics, about other stuff. And there it works because it's got the viewer's attention. But I think for my subject, my plan is not really, like, let's say I want to do a basics video. My idea of a basics video is not telling you everything, because electronics is such a wide field. Let's take the asynchronous motor for an example. All the stuff that is in the asynchronous motor video, I didn't actually want to talk about. I wanted to talk about much more advanced stuff, but then you start, okay, who's watching my videos? Probably maybe beginners who just want to learn, who want to get inspired by electronics and are like, oh, this is cool. I maybe want to find out more about that on my own and use that in a project. So the idea for me in my videos is always just spark an interest. I give you information which is important, which is relevant to the topic, but I don't go too deep where it gets very scary for lots of people, and where it gets unappealing, I think. So my videos do sometimes contain more information than probably other creators offer, but it's not super deep. And I'm actually okay with that, because with that I reach a decent audience size, I would say, and lots of people seem to really enjoy it. I get lots of positive feedback all the time. Of course, there are some people who criticize, which I'm also okay with. I'm gladful for all kinds of feedback. Of course, hate is not useful for me, but there are also people who hate. But other than that, just the feedback in general is very positive. And of course, there are people like you who are like, I would love to learn so much more through your videos, because you make them, I hope you think they're good, and you just want more longer videos about a subject in my style, so that you can easily learn it or be entertained by it. All that matters. And yeah, but then again, I think your audience group is a minority, just like my Patreon supporters are just a minority. We are like, I have 950 Patreon supporters who really care about my production, who invest the $1 at least. so that I can continue producing this stuff. And I would love to make longer videos for you, but from a financial side of view, it's just not possible because for me, the quantity of videos is also important because with that I have a new sponsorship every time, which brings in a bit of money. Then there's also the ad revenue, which also goes up a bit with each topic, with each video. So I cannot really do this one big video a month about a certain topic because it would be too in-depth. People would get scared of, they would not watch it because in the end my content is not as marketable for bigger audiences because I do go into very specific electronics subjects and not just the general clickbait thumbnail-y thing on YouTube where it's like, oh, I built the biggest magnet, and then I built the biggest magnets and tell you all about it in more theory style stuff in the video. No, my videos are usually not very appealing to most people, I would say, because it's just so electronics oriented and not daily life oriented, which is maybe more accessible to other viewers. So I know this answer is super long and super complicated, and I hope I did not say something at the end which was against the first things I say. In German it is called widersprechen, dass ich mir nicht selbst widerspreche. But I hope you get what I'm trying to say. Longer videos are just not financially possible, and I think it would not help getting more people into electronics. So I just try to spark your interest with my videos, give you the necessary and sometimes more details, and I basically want you to learn the rest by yourself or by the internet or by books or by university, whatever. And that is basically my plan. And I hope you're okay with that, and I hope many people it seems like many people like that. And yeah, sorry for the long answer, but that is the answer. Okay, next question from Eduardo Diaz Comelas. You have made quite a few projects with USB power banks. I would find it very useful to power a Raspberry or an Arduino with a power bank and solar power for 24/7 operation. Will you do a video on this? Not specifically, no. I actually just did a portable solar power video, so you just take that and add a 5-volt output, which I did with the buck boost converter, and then you will have to see how to charge up a power bank with that, and then you hook in Raspberry Pi or an Arduino up to that. So this is something very specific, which I think is too specific for video right now, because you can take pieces of other videos of mine and put that together on your own. So sadly, I will not do a video about that. Sorry. Next question from Paulo dos Santos. Would you consider useful extending the analog design component on your videos? It would be nice to have a more in-depth look at design options and evaluations. Once again, I think I do not really get the first part. Would you consider useful extending the analog design components on your videos? So I think you want more in-depth information about the analog construction of my videos. I will see how that fits in videos, how much I can put in there, but you would have to give me a proper example of where you missed that, because I actually always try to go in depth on my circuit designs. I'm like, oh, this is there because it works like this, and then I go there and this works like this and interacts with this. I always try to do that, and if I skipped on that in a video, maybe where I drive a MOSFET, then it is probably just because I talked about MOSFET driving for so long and in so many videos and so in depth that I'm like, okay, I do not have to repeat this every time. So this is actually a good advice if you're watching one of my videos and think, oh, how did he do that? Then it is probably not that well explained in the video, because I have done a video before which talked about this topic in detail, or I did lots of projects before where I constantly talked about that, and at this point in the newer video, I'm like, I do not have to repeat this every time. So I have 350 videos. I'm not sure. If you're looking for specific information, then just go to the YouTube search and like GreatScott MOSFET or GreatScott IGBT, and you will certainly find an answer to this question on the design part. And I think that that is a comment which I see very often. I don't know how he did that in the precise manner. So yeah, definitely search for that on my channel. There's probably lots of information about that you missed. Okay, moving on to the next question from Mikey BG. What is your favorite vacation destination? Hard to say. I've been to not too many vacation places so far. Last year I went to Greece, which was awesome. The sun, climate and nature with the hills and the vegetation was pretty interesting and just a pleasure to be there. But I've not been to too many places, but so far there hasn't been a disappointment. Also, there are some great spots in Germany as well, so I cannot really pick one favorite vacation destination, but I will certainly visit Greece again, I think. Okay, next question about Clement Hathaway. Have you ever thought of doing projects with GPIB? It would be cool to have one that uses GPIB for automation and testing. In case you don't know, I had to look this up. GPIB is an interface used between PCs and measuring instruments. So I think for a professional work environment, this is very important if you want to measure something. So I will definitely put it on my to-do list, and I will see when I get the opportunity to work with such instruments and how I can include that in a video. So we will see, but I hope it will happen at some point. Next question from Tim Loops. Have you already been into electronics in high school? Otherwise, what else aroused your interest? Aroused your interest, that's a nice way to put it. Back then I wasn't really into electronics. I was more into, from the knowledge side of field, I was more into mathematics, physics and programming actually more, but there it was just simple programming. Other than that, I was into sports, judo, which is, I'm not sure if that's the English term, but it's kind of a martial arts. Then soccer or football. I was into lots of sports. I also like playing table tennis, basketball, all that stuff. And then I also enjoyed watching movies, playing video games, and then also meeting friends, going out, something like that, but not really into electronics. That was just a lucky guess from me when I started my after school life, I would say. Okay, the Jukebox Man says, I have no question, but thanks for the great videos. Thanks a lot for the feedback. You're welcome. And I hope I can continue making such videos in the future. So thanks a lot for your support. Next question from Bas Dishkla. Sorry if I got the name wrong. Dear Mr. GreatScott, what is the largest amount of current you've ever worked with? Sincerely, Bas Dishkla. Don't bother about the name. Okay, sorry anyway about the name. I haven't worked with such a huge amount, I think. In my job field back then, it was probably with a 3-phase motor, which was drawing like maximum 16 amps, so it was a small motor. I think that was probably the biggest amount. So for a power electronics engineer, not much, very, very little current, I would say. But yeah, in university, you do not work with such current very often. You just talk about it in the end. So 16 amps for me, not much. Next question from Hannes. Ever thought about doing a collab? I'd love to see a project between you and maybe Kamui Cosplay and creating a prop with a LiPo plus Arduino that can do a lot more things than just switching LEDs on and off. I think they're not too far away from Saxony. A collab is definitely interesting. I think it would spice things up, do something a little different than my usual videos. The problem once again here is the time management. When you got two parties who have to work together, I see that with my collaboration with World Electronics. it's just hard finding times when both have time to work on things together. So this production time stretches out quite a bit. And that is, I mentioned that like 1,000 times already, there's a problem for me because I have a tight release schedule, a production schedule. So it is very difficult to get those things sorted out. But if at some point this thing works out with another creator, I'm definitely open to it. I actually talked with BitLooney, which you should definitely subscribe to. He has an awesome channel. He did an amazing LED wall, I think a month back. Much more insane than any LED wall I ever did. And he knows lots more about programming than me. He studied that in university, which I did not. And he asked me at the beginning of the year if we would like to work on a collaboration with the new Teensy, I think, to create a DIY oscilloscope. And back then I was like, yeah, that sounds like a very good idea. But I was working on so much stuff that I didn't have the time. And I'm not sure if he started programming for the Teensy anyway, no idea. But it's still an interesting project, but it's hard for two people to manage that and get it in line with my production. So hard to do, but maybe in the future it will work out and hopefully be a good video and spice things up a bit. Okay, next part of the question, can you make a top 5-10 video with electronic safety features for homemade projects that run on low voltage? Like how, when to use and install fuses, flyback diodes, heatsinks, general practice for schematics, etc. I'm always worried about burning up my house or get electrocuted. Thanks for a great channel. Sorry that I laughed at this point because the worry of burning up your house or get electrocuted is good to have, I would say. You should not be fearless with electronics. And I actually really like the idea of such a top 5-10 list with advices. So it is definitely going on my whiteboard behind me, behind the camera. And I will see when I get to it. I like this idea. Top 5-10, I think I haven't done something like that yet. So let's see how viewers will react to that. And I really like the topic. So yeah, definitely happening sometime. Not sure when. I never make promises that way, but hopefully soon. David asks, what other things interest you besides electronics? Lots of things. I love to try out new things. I started doing climbing and swimming at the beginning of the year. I still do that. I go 1 time per week swimming, 1 time climbing, and I go 2 times to the gym. So I obviously enjoy sports, and I also love to watch movies at home or in the cinema, which is currently a bit problematic because of the situation we're in. And then I also love to play video games. I just finished The Last of Us Part 2, which is a quite controversial game if you're into that scene. But I really enjoyed it, actually. The story, there were some story choices which are hard to swallow, I would say. But it was still a fantastic game from start to end, and I would certainly give it an 8 or 9 out of 10. It's not perfect, but it was a lot of fun to play. But I don't want to give you a review of the game. And other things I like working on my Sims on, going outside, my garden, I grow plants and care for the garden, and other things. Too many, I would say, to count them all. I'm interested in way too many things. I'm also currently learning to play guitar, so I think there will even be a video about something guitar related in the near future. So I hope people will look forward to that. Yeah, lots of things. So let's just move on to the next question from Dean Hintz. I have enjoyed the videos on solar power. Actually anything. Your video is of interest to me. Thank you very much. I think the last video about solar power that is missing is about MPPT, an MPPT charger. So I will see when I get to that. No promises though, but it should happen. Maybe not this year, maybe next year, but it should come at some point. So yeah, thank you very much for the feedback. Thank you for the support, and I'm glad that you enjoy my videos. Next question, and the last question from Harbon Roof. Hi Scott, I followed your video for about 4 years. Whenever I'm watching your video, I'm wondering where your ideas come from and how can you balance your YouTube career and your life. Will you make a list or plan how to build a project and think about what issues may be an obstacle? And what will you do when you have a critical problem or something you may not be able to deal with a new project? You're very awesome. Thanks for your video and inspire my maker life from senior high school. So thank you very much for the feedback. It's very nice to read that you got inspired by my videos, that I sparked the electronics interest in you for 4 years now, and you still enjoy them. So that's awesome. And yeah, what you're saying, where my ideas come from, just from daily life, like problems I face in life or just subjects I'm interested in as an electronics maker, as an electronics engineer, which I think are interesting for the public, or just things that friends or family suggest, like, oh, can you make this? And I'm like, can I make this? Or we want this in our apartment or house. And I'm like, let me think about it. And that's just how ideas come to me. And balancing my YouTube career and my life. Time management is, like I mentioned before, dozens of times. It is difficult, but for me, my YouTube career, it is also a lot of fun. I don't wake up and say, oh, I have to make a video so I can get paid, so I get money. And for me, it's like I wake up and I'm like, oh, today I can talk about that subject because it's super interesting, and I hope viewers will find it interesting as well, because it's such an interesting electronics concept or component or whatever. So for me, there's a lot of fun in my work, and I think that's why it's easier to balance for me with my other life. I put lots of time in my YouTube stuff, but I do enjoy it. Of course, there are parts which are not that great. Editing also always takes up lots of time, and I'm not into that too much, but it has to be done. Every work, I think, has its downsides. There is no perfect work. But yeah, that's how I balance it. A plan on how to build a project and think maybe what issue may be an obstacle. Maybe one day I will do a behind the scenes video on a project, if that is what you're looking for. So one day maybe, but right now a list or plan. Not sure what you mean by that actually. And what will you do when you have a critical problem with a new project? Because of my schedule, I usually do testing whether a project works out before I actually start the production during the week. So I currently do not run into such critical problems. At the beginning, when I started making YouTube videos, that was more of a problem, but now I think through everything much more, and thus I avoid such things. And if there's a critical problem, I delay the project and do it later, and thus I never run into those issues. Okay, with that being said, we are done through the Patreon comments. I hope so. I hope I didn't miss anything. And yeah, just let's head over to Twitter and answer a couple of questions. And let's see how many I will get through. I will not answer them through the list. I will just pick out a few which I think are interesting. So let's get started. The first question from Jantrek. Hi Jeremy Pascal. By the way, my name is not Jeremy Pascal. This was a joke in one of my older Q&A videos. People still call me to that day with this name. It's not my name. My name is also not Scott. I don't call myself GreatScott. This is actually a reference to Back to the Future. My real name is actually a mystery, so I will not tell you. But anyway, the question was, do you already have a plan to come to Maker Faire in Germany again, maybe 2021, if the Corona situation makes it clear what can take place? Can you let us know? I would really like to meet you. Thanks, Jan. I've been to the Maker Faire in Berlin last year, 2019, and I will definitely visit the Berlin Maker Faire in 2022 if it takes place. And if I have a date where I go to it, I will let everyone know through Twitter and Facebook maybe 1 week before I visit. So follow me there and you will not miss it. Next question from Mark Breitberg. What are all these softwares that you use in your workflow of making, designing and fabrication process? Like 3D designing, circuit simulation, etc. There are actually just 2 pieces of software which I use. Now, we do not look at the editing side and audio recording side of my production. We only look at the electronic stuff. And for that, I use EasyEDA for schematics and circuit design. I never do circuit simulation. I really do not do that. And that is why I do not have a software for that. And other than that, for the 3D printing part, I use Fusion 360 for designing my enclosures and whatnot. And yeah, of course, for the Prusa's, the 3D printers I also use the Prusa Slicer software. Yeah, so basically just EasyEDA and Fusion 360 and Prusa Slicer for the 3D printers. There's nothing else. Next question from Maximilian Kief. What is your recording setup like? Cameras, lights, etc. I actually upgraded my camera setup. I'm looking at it right now. It is a Sony Alpha 7 Mark III. I upgraded this about a year ago. As an objective, I'm not sure if the name is actually objective in English, but it is the lens is the correct term. I think it is the G series from Sony with 24 to 105 millimeter lens. This is what I'm pretty much always using. And then I also got up here a small screen where I can see what I'm recording. So yeah, right now it's focusing on my hand. And that's really helpful because the screen of the camera is not that, you cannot flip it around, it's not a flip screen, so you need that. And then here I also got a light, which is just a softbox, which is used for photography and some generic light bulbs, nothing special. And then I got a tripod from Valimax Pro. So those parts in combination pretty much are the most important things. Then I also got a voice over microphone and something like here, a lavalier microphone, and a recorder, which is right beside me from Zoom. But yeah, the camera, lens, screen, tripod and the lights, generic ones, are the most important stuff, I think. Okay, let's move on. Funny question. Question from Mikey's Lab. Debounce in hardware or software? That is a good question. Let me know your answer to that in the comment section below. It depends. It really depends. I think with a rotary encoder, I love to do it in hardware. But I think with most of the Arduino stuff, I do it in software. So I think software is my answer. Next question from Not Your Prime Time. How much did you spend for your electronics equipment? Quite a bit. The good thing is some stuff like my oscilloscope or back here all the Keysight stuff and most of the Siglent stuff, it's all sponsored from them because as an electronics equipment manufacturer, it makes sense to send me this stuff because I show it in video, I show it in videos, I use it in videos, so it's kind of a promotion for them. And of course for me it's great because when I have such good equipment I can show you much more details about what I'm working on, and sometimes it makes it easier for the viewer to see what is going on, and I have much more capabilities of what I can produce. So I think it's a win-win situation for the manufacturer and for me. So in the end what I pretty much have to buy by myself were multimeters, all the tools you see, screwdrivers, pretty much everything I have in my drawers, wrenches, screwdrivers, all that other stuff. I actually did a video about what tools I have in my electronics lab a few weeks back. So watch that video, there you can see it all. So how much did I spend for all of that? It's a good question, because in the end this is not just for my private use, it is for my business, I would say, for the commercial use. So It's hard to say, to put a number on this, but I think maybe 5,000 to 10,000 euro. Yeah, with the 3D printers included. Yeah, then all that other stuff. Yeah, there are some. You sometimes forget how expensive this stuff is then when you work with it every day, because for me it is really worth it. I use this every day and it's not just in the shelf, but I would say maybe 10,000 euro, which is of course a lot for a private person, an electronics enthusiast who just wants to get started, but you do not really need all the tools I have, because I do this on a much bigger scale on what projects I want to do and what variety I want to do. So I have to be prepared for everything, and that's why I have so much, I think. Here's a funny last question from Twitter. How can a German be so softly and smooth while talking like you? Yeah, German is known to be a really harsh language, weil wir sehr viele T und Z Laute drin haben in unserer Sprache. Darum scheint es immer eine sehr, it sounds to be a really rough language, German, because of all the T and Z that we say. And it sounds to foreigners like Germany is a very rough language. It is a direct language. And for me, why I can speak so softly and smooth, no idea if everyone sees that like that. There are lots of people who say my English is terrible. There are lots of people who say my English is fantastic. There are lots of people in between, like everyone can have an opinion on that. Yeah, so no idea. I don't think I have the usual German accent like many others have. Some people say it sounds Asian. Some people say it sounds, or what do they say? A little bit of a British accent. I have no idea. It's just the way I talk. It's developed this way, and lots of people seem to like it. Lots of people seem to hate it. I can't please everyone. So, okay, last but not least, let's move on to Facebook questions. And for that, I got 103 questions or comments, but that is insane. I cannot answer all of them. So I will see which interesting ones I can pick out once again. Okay, question from Bashir Ak. Please do more about programming of those development boards, especially Arduino, because your Arduino 1, 2 and 3 episodes didn't quite illustrate it. Thanks for the good work, keep it up. So sadly, I will not go into too much detail about using such into the programming of those development boards. I think with the Arduino 1, 2 and 3, and especially my timer video where you learn about the Arduino timers, I already talked about pretty much all the basics you need to know, and then you can extend that knowledge with my basic series about the SPI bus, the I2C bus, and all the other buses I talked about, which are also included with the Arduino. So I do not really know what else I should add to that. I think that's a really good basic foundation, and everything else would just be extended knowledge, which, like I think I said before, lots of time I do not want to tackle. I don't want to get too specific. I want to give you all the basics, but not too much beyond that. So I think I covered most of that, and I will not do that for the Arduino. I'm not sure if I do other videos about other development boards like the PIC or which one didn't do? Which one didn't I do yet? I did the Arduino, ESP, the Texas Instrument boards, the MSP, the PIC is missing. I did the Teensy, I think. So I will see if I do basic guides for other microcontroller development boards, but for the Arduino, not anymore, I think. Rob Finlay Roloffs asks, do you often want to flip your table while working on projects? Sometimes, I would say. I would say during project development from start to finish, I think there is at least one time during that production time where I want to say, why doesn't it work this way? Why doesn't it do what I want it to do? And I think that's the problem that every maker faces, but usually it's just a bit of troubleshooting and then you get your answer, and in the end, for me, most of the time it works out. Question from Marek Czakc. Do you plan on doing a PhD? For now, not, because the YouTube production takes too much time. This is my full-time job, and doing a PhD just requires way too much time, way too much attention. But if one day I say that I cannot or do not want to do this YouTube thing anymore, then it is definitely an option for me to do a PhD. So maybe in the future, but right now it will not happen. Okay, let's search for a last Facebook question. And I think I will use this one from Remo Flicky. What is your selection of must-have literature? I think he is talking about must-have literature about electronics. And for that, I would say there is not really a must-have. I've learned most of my electronics from, I would say, the internet, YouTube videos, and that's it basically. You can Google search so much, it's incredible how much you can learn through the internet. So literature is nice sometimes to have. I think I have a book which is pretty good, which I read through from start to finish, which is called, how is it called? I will link it in the video description. I have it in my living room. That is pretty good. And then I also have some books about very specific subjects like BLDC motors, synchronous motors. Those books are definitely good. You can pretty much, I can guarantee you can find it in a library for a university or something like that. So it's not really a must-have. I rarely use those books. I read through them once. I'm like, okay, that's some nice knowledge. But most of the time for projects or anything, the internet offers so much information. So I would say there is no must-have literature. You can learn electronics without it. But that's just my opinion. Okay, and with that being said, we are done with the Q&A session. I hope you enjoyed it. And that is of course not the end, because I know you are waiting for this, the Siglins giveaway. So the way this works out, if you want to participate in my giveaway, like I said, 3 are for my Patreon supporters, 1 is for all the YouTube viewers. You will simply have to comment underneath this video in which you will say, I want to enter the giveaway. So simply write that sentence, even if there are errors or mistakes in your writing, it doesn't matter. Just write, I want to enter the giveaway. And here's the important part. If you are a Patreon supporter, then make sure to write behind that Patreon and then your username from Patreon, so I can find you there. Please do not write underneath on the Patreon side. Do not write there, just in the YouTube comment section. So if you're a Patreon supporter, just write, I want to enter the giveaway, Patreon, your username, and you're in the Patreon giveaway, and I will find you as soon as the giveaway is over and you have won. I will contact you there. Other than that, as soon as this video will go online, I will wait for a week. Then I will randomly select 4 winners from YouTube. I will post that on my community tab. So look there, I will say this person has won, and then you will have to contact me. There is a business email address which you can use. And for Patreon supporters, it's much easier. Once the week is over, I will contact them directly and they will get their prize. And with that being said, I hope you like this Q&A video. I will continue my production as usual. It has been a tough first half year of 2020. I think you all know why. But for me, it all worked out somehow. YouTube was changing a lot during that time. My views dipped and rised a lot during that time. It was just a bit chaotic. But especially with Patreon, I still have supporters which financially support me, so I can still continue my production even during those chaotic times, which I'm very thankful for. And yeah, that's basically all I want to say. Thank you very much for your viewership, for your small financial Patreon supports. And I hope the upcoming projects and topics will be very interesting for you. And with that being said, stay creative, and I will see you next time.